Hey, listen up. Yeah, we here and we locked in. Let's keep it going all the way to the top 10. We fear the turtles, so it's no other option. Fred and Ryan, just watch them. Let's take it to the max. It's the Shell and Tell. They come with all the facts. It's the Shell and Tell. Let's take it to the max. It's the Shell and Tell. They come with all the facts. It's the Shell and Tell.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of ShellnTell. We lost, we were right, unfortunately, but, not the worst showing, especially earlier in the game. Kind of wheels fell off at the end while you're trying to catch back up, but pretty good showing for the Terps against the number one team in the nation all the way across the country.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of fans at this point, year six, looking for the moral victories. But
Right.
the argument is always, beyond the wins and losses, how they lost, and the effort was there. There were obviously some things that need to fix, but definitely some bright spots from the road trip in Eugene.
Yeah, I mean, you won a few plays back, and some of your biggest stars didn't have their best games. But like you said, the effort was there. I think it was one of Ruben Hippolyte's best games. He was all over the field, just like hyper speed to every tackler. I really saw a lot of effort, basically across the linebacker core. Corners played well. Of course, they were out their top threat, but there's plenty of threats on that Oregon offense. Of course, at later in the game, as it didn't hold up as much as it did early, but we had our chances. We had our leads. 12.5-minute lead to start the game against the number one team in the nation was nice. We had another huge opportunity with the muffed punt that came off Felton's fingertips. I know he wants that back. I think 9 out of 10 times Felton comes up with that ball. It's a very unfortunate set of circumstances there.
Yeah, and like you said, being able to get out to the early lead, obviously capitalizing on that first drive, going into the red zone. Jack Howes drilling that 37-yard field goal. Maryland's defense, they showed their signs. They showed the bright spots on the, especially in that front seven. And I actually woke up to a lot of Oregon fans on the Inside the Black and Gold YouTube channel for under Loxley's press conference. Even the Oregon fans noted, Maryland did played well, but also the Maryland tackled really well. And I thought that was something that was kind of an interesting observation from opposing teams fans. And, the secondary, I thought that the secondary, obviously going into the week with it being a young secondary room, and obviously Tez Johnson, that was kind of an expected absence for the Ducks, but Trayshawn Holden, he went down a little bit early there, but Evan Stewart, that's a lot of raw talent. Dante Trader, he joked post game, talked about how Dylan Gabriel is pretty much back there, and obviously very good, but said once he just gets the ball to his skill guys, it's they're track stars. You just got to chase him down at that point. So this is an explosive offense. So I thought holding Oregon to three and outs, especially 2 in the first half, I thought that was a bright spot for sure.
Yeah, I start getting a little excited because the offensive line looked better than it has. And, we've kind of gone through my theory of these new Big Ten teams. No matter how good they are, they're still not Big Ten type built squads. And the thing that has ate us up the most are these offensive and defensive line battles in this league. So I started getting a little more hope than need be. So by the end of the game, I was disappointed. It is interesting to see, even at that top level, I don't believe they have a Big Ten offensive line yet. It is scary to think that with their resources and now being in the Big Ten, what that offense could look like if they ever do put that together.
Yeah, I really think Oregon. I thought kind of going into this weekend, I was kind of leaning towards Oregon, Georgia in the national championship, and maybe it's wrong. I just think in the end of the day, when all said and done, I just felt like they're cut above everyone else. But you're right. Oregon, I didn't think had played their best game, and kind of looked like they were just trying to scrap it together. Oregon, especially at the beginning of the year, didn't look like they were at full throttle. Just still trying to figure out some of these pieces. But again, this is an explosive team. Again, that defense. Having Jordan Birch, obviously he was coming off that snap count against Michigan. I believe it was 30 snaps, 35 snaps the week prior. But there are some playmakers. So when you talk about the offensive line for Maryland, kind of taking some steps forward, obviously with Damian Roblowski, with him leading the way. I think they held up. But again, think Maryland, obviously in that second quarter there, obviously that turnover, the fumble that turned into a touchdown, definitely skewed that. But Maryland trying to lean on the ground game, let the offense trying to bleed out the clock a little bit, and it kind of showed there through the first half. But again, still a little bit of a struggle to try and run the ball there. Roman Hemby, Nolan Ray, but those guys finished for 52 yards on 19 carries there. So a little bit better than you would like to see, a little bit better than that, excuse me. But kind of what we've seen this year, I think that's kind of been the biggest issue.
Yeah, it's strange 'cause it felt a little bit better than those numbers because I think they had a couple flashy plays, but they also had a lot of just 0 yard
Yeah.
nothingness, I guess, to really hurt those numbers overall.
Not too many negative plays, but didn't have a run over 10 yards on
Oh,
Saturday.
yeah. Pick and choose their spots, I guess. But Dylan Wade, um, Ty Felton had their spots. Another showing for Howard, had another big first down catch. He's fun to watch every week. He's my
Yeah.
favorite player next year. I can feel it.
Yeah, he's just, and he's also just like just a real easy guy to root for. I mean, yeah, I'll just for obviously personally for me, just covering recruiting and then covering these guys at Maryland, just real easy guy. Very just naturally kind of driven. So obviously you got to always see the athleticism. And I think with kind of each week, I think at this point, fans are kind of capable of seeing what athlete he really is. But I thought Octavian Smith, I thought he looked really good this weekend as well. Finished with
100%.
5 catches, 46 yards. Had that lead touchdown there to kind of bring it a little bit closer. But I think this offense kind of all season, Keaton Prather, Ty Felton, and obviously Ty Felton led the way. 7 catches, 72 yards, and he's still leading, I think, all Big Ten receivers by I don't think there's anyone within 160, 170 yards receiving in the Big Ten this season. So I mean, he's production wise, he's just really cut above everyone else. But for Maryland, it was really whether they can find that third wide receiver. Obviously, with Caden Prather, with him being established. So I think Octavian Smith has really started to put together some productive games these last couple of weeks, and really hopefully springboard him into being that top skill guy next year.
Yeah, Ty's great. I do think he's going to have to really put this one away in the back of his head. So when you are having a season like him, showing out against the number one team has had to be a bigger priority. I know they say one game is one game and all that garbage talk, but it's just different when you're talking national TV against Oregon in these one-of-one uniforms. And Ty, like we already talked about, had the punt that could have gone his way. He also had a very early first down catch or drop that would have been a first down on an early drive. So I know he's kicking himself in the ass for those plays. I don't think that it ended up changing, but you always like to be the team that gets hope against a great team, put some doubt in their head, and then you all of a sudden you have a chance. So I love to watch what happens if those two things go wrong for Oregon and right for the Terps, how the rest of that game changes, because it really feels like it could have.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, you talk about the way the game changes, and I think can't talk about that without talking about the turnovers for Maryland. Obviously, for a team that really did a great job the first 4 or 5 weeks. Obviously, consider this the competition, but just still being able to show the ability to not only take care of the football but generate takeaways. And over the last couple of weeks, you've seen the opposite in both categories. There, obviously, Maryland losing the turnover battle on Saturday, 3-0. Pair of interceptions in the fourth quarter, and like we talked about earlier, that second quarter strip on Billy Edwards that was returned for a touchdown. And Maryland obviously had to kind of claw their way back from that 14-3 hole. We're able to on the next possession with Roman Hemby punching in a 1 yard touchdown on a 9-play drive. But again, just you can't Loxy talked about it, and it's not rocket science. You can't give the other team breaks. A team like Oregon, in a game like this on the road, that margin for error, like we saw a couple of years ago against Michigan on the road, like we saw against Ohio State years ago, that margin for error is small. And when Maryland is kind of able to play within that, they give themselves a chance late in the game. And obviously, we were kind of able to overcome that second quarter fumble there, but those two late fourth quarter interceptions, obviously one of them being a deflection, but tough break for Maryland there.
Yeah, and we also had to talk a little bit about the two controversies on the officials. The third team we had to play, or second team we had to play against, with the touchdown of the tight end walking out of bounds. I thought it was pretty clear, even in full speed.
Yeah.
I don't know why they focused on the hyper zoomed in footage. Like there wasn't one other angle of a touchdown in Oregon. You got to be kidding me. It's a 7 p.m. game. There's 15 other cameras. Why are we doing this?
Well, I didn't understand like how the announcer they were going slow on it, and then the announcer was like, "Well, I don't know, is that in?" And the other guy was like, "Yep," and I was like, "Well, how are you so definitively
Yeah,
saying like you're
sure
just
looked
like
like a half
completely?"
circle to me, not a straight
Yeah,
line.
yeah,
I don't know what he's talking about.
I definitely thought even live it looked like he was out.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously a tough break right there before the half.
And a lot of
Um,
people thought that fumble should have been blown dead and that shouldn't have been a touchdown. It should have just been
yeah.
a turnover. Another controversy during the game.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's, probably more on the ref than, anyone else. Normally those refs are kind of told to just kind of let the play out. But yeah, obviously if the whistle's blown, then that's play dead right there. But I think that touchdown before the half, I thought that was kind of big killer for Maryland going in.
Yeah. On the Maryland defense, it was you're incapable of overstating how much having Trader back has changed that defense. And
Yeah.
it's been a glaring hole. It's been a real problem not having that kind of established player back there. And I hope that it helps him in his future to have the advanced statistics of what that defense looks like with and without him. But he's one heck of a player and should be recognized for how different that defense looks with him there.
Yeah, obviously, getting hit both him and Glenn Miller back there. Trader ended up finishing second on the team with 9 tackles. But again, we talked about at the beginning of the show, but just really that secondary kind of really able to step up and kind of limit the big plays. I think Oregon only had one play over 20 yards passing. I think it was a 26-yard reception there. But again, Trader is a big part of that. Just his range and his ability to ID plays and lock in and close in on the ball, close in on the space. I mean, he's kind of proven why he's really one of the alpha dogs, if not the alpha dog on that defense, and especially key contributor on that back line.
Yeah, I've actually have a little line on a Terps signing coming up, and I'm getting a very interesting Terps lacrosse ball signed by Dante Trader. I thought that'd be more interesting than the usual memorabilia. And then Ty Felton pylon and Ray, Nolan Ray pylon. Nolan Ray,
Nice.
don't make me look stupid. Be here next year. I don't want to buy a 1-year Terp, product here. So please stay a Terp. I think you have a huge future. Let's make it a future at Maryland.
No C2 situation, I promise.
Yeah, good. That sounds great. Well, I don't know. You got anything else for Oregon, or you think that pretty much wraps up the past?
Yeah, obviously, like we talked about, I just think kind of going in, this is probably that last game for Maryland to kind of really prove it on that national scale. And like we said, I think this season has really been trying for Maryland, and kind of being able to get those results. Dr. Trader said at post game, but if he said, if you told us, through offseason workouts and through all the conditioning, if you told us that we would be 4-5 at this point, I'd call you crazy. So obviously, Maryland has a chance to kind of salvage the season a little bit. They'll turn their attention to Rutgers and Iowa this weekend back at home. Well, they don't have Rutgers and Iowa this weekend. The next two
Yeah,
weekends, but
a
I know
bit. That might be
I
kind of
knew you know what I
difficult.
meant. Yeah, that one I would not feel optimistic on. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that.
I feel
But
pretty good right now, but not if we had to
but
play them both.
yeah, exactly. But obviously, a chance to get wins number 5 and 6, get bowl eligibility.
And then you still
With
have Penn State hanging out there. I mean, it's not Oregon. Like it's not
yeah,
like top level, but a win against Penn State will still, if you are also at 6, will also calm down a few of those. Where's your big win type players? Penn State
no
still
doubt,
holds the name.
no doubt. I mean, that's probably like Duke basketball. I think every Maryland fan, if you finish every year 4-8 but beat Penn State, there are probably some fans who take a little bit of pride in that.
Yeah, maybe not 4-8, but yeah,
I
definitely,
don't know.
definitely
I
a
don't
big
know.
one.
I think there would be some fans out there that would
There's
actually,
some that if you ask, do you want to be 6-6
yeah,
without a Penn State win or 4-8 with one, that would take
yeah.
4-8. I'm
Uh,
definitely not in that category, but I could see that there'd be some.
I bet you there's some out there.
We're gonna get a nice 6-6 record. We're gonna go right back to the Pinstripe Bowl, and I'm gonna hop on a bus and have a great time again, and just pretend that this is fine.
There you go. There you go. But obviously, big one this weekend. Maryland's won 3 straight against Rutgers. But really intriguing matchup this year.
Yeah. Um, Points wise, we've been handling ourselves against Rutgers over the years, but it does seem like they're a growing team. It does seem like they're headed in the right direction. Who scares us the most this year?
Well, I think, really this year it's going to be, or this week, excuse me, it's going to be, kind of the status of Kyle Monangai. He was kind of, been battling injury these last couple of weeks, came out early against USC, was a scratch against Minnesota. It was kind of expected to be, maybe, Minnesota, I think they were favored by 6 or 7. But, kind of expected that Rutgers probably fall short, just kind of didn't really have that firepower just with Monangai kind of being that alpha dog for him. So, I'm not sure that there is a quarterback in the or his program in the country that has been hit harder with the injury bug than Rutgers. Obviously, with Mohamed Toure being one of the first guys out for the season, and then Wesley Bailey, he was ruled out this past weekend for a season-ending injury. So, going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, Antoine Raymond, he'll be the guy to know at running back if Monangai can't go, but it's going to be in really the next 2 weeks. I think this Maryland, that front seven, that run defense is going to be tested and probably will end up telling the tale in Maryland's bowl eligibility effort. So, and obviously at quarterback, they have eighth and Minnesota transfer there. He's done a decent job this year, 12 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. Sits second to last in the Big Ten in completion percentage, a little less than 54% of his passes there. But in the receiving game, it's going to be Dymere Miller, who's kind of the big name, leads Rutgers in catches, receiving yards, touchdowns. And then KJ Duff, who's had a couple of big games as well, sits, I believe, third or fourth on the team and catches there as well. So, again, I think this Rutgers offense has kind of had some pieces, but I think that the secondary, they have a couple of linebackers there, or excuse me, the front seven. They have a couple of linebackers there do a pretty good job. And obviously one of them was able to come up with that late tackle inside the Minnesota 10-yard line to force a fumble that set up the eventual game-winning score for that Rutgers offense. So I think that again, I think the tale for this weekend will really be limiting the run and kind of making this Rutgers offense a little bit more one-dimensional. But I think that the status or how this game goes, will really tell the tale on if Monangai is available.
This is one of those important ones for me to show that we're not dropping a tier. Like the kind of in the you added the teams from the Pac-12. You wanted to show that you weren't behind all three. We did beat USC. It would have been nice to compete a little bit more with Oregon than we did at the end of the game, but the beginning of the game looked pretty good. This is the game where we've won 3 straight. We have to keep winning against Rutgers. We have 8 wins. They have to their 4 in the lifetime of this, and we've won 3 straight. This is the anti-Northwestern. Northwestern sucks and beats us. Rutgers sucks and doesn't beat us. We can't have more sucky teams beating us. We have to fix Northwestern beyond a doubt, but this is not one of the ones that we should be letting creep up on us, especially at home. Let's get this job done.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail right on the head there. Obviously, with Rutgers, they just were able to snap a 4-game losing streak against a team that had a 4-game winning streak with Maryland included. So they were able to take care of business at home, and like you said, I think this Rutgers team, they're coming in, they're sitting at 5-4. They're just like Maryland. Obviously their margin for error is a little bit better than Maryland's, but they're looking for bowl eligibility, which would be that's not something that they have seen too often at Rutgers. So getting back to that 6th win, and I'm sure that they would take some extra pride in being able to do it against a team that historically, especially the last 5-6 years, has consistently beaten them. So, and they go head to head. Maryland, little bit less this year, and maybe next year than in years past, but they still do recruit Jersey, and obviously Jersey still recruits Maryland, so you'll always have that as well. But like you said, I think this is kind of that measuring stick game for Maryland at this point in the season, especially coming off that Oregon game under 500, chance for Maryland to get back. And, the words, the vibes about all the guys kind of being locked in right now, that still looms large. So, I think this chance to really lock in this weekend.
Yeah, Rutgers wins against Howard, Akron, Virginia Tech, Washington, and Minnesota. So Minnesota's their good win on the season. I mean, Virginia Tech's not a terrible one, but it's also not all that daunting. Our record against the ACC kind of stands for itself at this point. So we're 60% according to ESPN, 4.5-point favorites pretty much across the betting boards. We just got to get down there and get the job done. Hopefully, the little fan support, weather looks pretty good. There's not going to be great fan support. It's Rutgers. We're losing. But the ones that are there, hopefully they get there early, stay late, and be loud.
Yeah, obviously, I think you get a chance to get back and just be able to yeah
It's great kickoff time.
Yeah, well, it's a weird kickoff time.
It's a
6
weird
p.m.
kickoff time. We've had 2 weird ones now.
I was trying to figure out, obviously, just kind of when to get there. I mean, obviously, I had a couple people being like, what time are the tailgates really going to start? So it'll be kind of interesting to see. But I think it'll be a good atmosphere. Not the greatest, of course, but we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, as long as the weather cooperates, there'll be some good tailgates, so there'll be a decent crowd there for the second quarter.
I'd say the last couple of home games, there've been a couple. I've been able to see just kind of where the press box is. You're able to kind of see far out, just a lot of the fans being able to come in. So definitely have the late streamers, but nonetheless, like you said, just being able to get back on track, back at home, getting that done is definitely the priority.
Yeah. Well, that's really all I got on the football side. Are there any recruiting news? Anything you want to touch base on the
No,
outside?
I mean, obviously, I talked about the Malik Washington rumors, with Michigan kind of reaching out or whatnot, but signing day is a couple weeks away. Get a chance to really lock in and kind of get this class sold or settled. But again, I think a chance for Maryland's doing a good job right now for a lot of these guys. They'll be able to host top 150 recruit this upcoming weekend. Feels like, especially the local guys, they're all locked in. Some of them have gotten some outside interest. Justin Devon, he had some Michigan interest as well, but that seems to be settled with Michigan flipping the NC State wide receiver this past weekend as well. So definitely some guys deserving of that outside attention. I've heard Nasir Taylor, Notre Dame, and Pitt has also been back in contact. Penn State was trying to host him for an official visit, so don't worry, no concerns there. But again,
big respect for Malik. If you're looking at a $3 million offer from Portnoy, who's hard to say no to and saying no, he could be an all-time great Terp making that decision, and as long as it works out right.
Yeah, no, Malik Washington is not a Barstool guy. Let's just put it like that.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, he does not get his news from Dave Portnoy, but yeah, no, I think this class should be good once the dust settles. We'll see, if they kind of do that, but again, I think they'll kind of be kind of an emphasis on the portal, get some experience, kind of beef up and kind of address some of these weaknesses. And you still have some of these young underclassmen, some of these guys who, don't remember the exact report or distribution, but I have a lot of underclassmen on this roster. A lot of guys, look at the linebacker room: Mike Harris, Daniel Wingate. Obviously, the running back room: Nolan Ray. Raw receiver. You have a lot of guys who are trying to break out. The offensive line room: Terez Davis, Michael Hershey, Ryan Howerton. So you have a lot of guys who are kind of waiting to kind of take that next steps. But I think just kind of getting some more reinforcement around them, I think is kind of that next step.
Yeah, with the outbreak of Octavian Smith, I feel better about his future here with the Terps too, being that next guy up, next Ty Felton season next year, hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have some round ball being played around College Park. What we got going on there, Ahmed?
Yeah, obviously you get a big game this upcoming weekend or Friday night against Marquette. First real ranked game for Maryland, and I think it's really that first chance for Maryland to kind of prove themselves this year. I think kind of Maryland fans, these first couple of games, they've been really optimistic. The shooting has been good. First game from Derek Queen, 22-20. First 2020 game for a Maryland freshman since Joe Smith did it in the early 90s. And you know what? I was 1 year old when that happened. So I think just kind of having this kind of type of generational talent, kind of watching him just be the homegrown guy. I think that's kind of something that Maryland kind of take the Maryland fans take a lot of pride in. And then I think the next thing was kind of that shooting, and in game two really got a chance to see it. I think you did see it a little bit in game one, but game two is really where it started to come in a lot more. Obviously, you got a chance to see that from Rodney Rice, where in game two,
it's unbelievable half of basketball.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. 26 points and a half.
And frankly, when you talk about what in the non-conference games, what can it do? it builds confidence. And frankly, for a guy like Rodney Rice, who has missed a lot of time, through his college career, this is kind of that point where you kind of can build that confidence. And he's been asked the first two games, afterwards, like, you feel like you shake the rust off, like you feel comfortable now, but it feels like after you can kind of do it in that setting, kind of get back into the groove of things, start to do the things that you know and think you can do. That's where you start to build confidence. And then obviously Jacoby Gillespie adding, I think he's, I've kind of talked about it a little bit on the site, but just kind of being a do-it-all point guard where it feels like he's kind of able to lead the offense, play a little bit of the two, facilitate for others. So it kind of seems like he's still settling in. And Kevin Willard noted, it's still a work in progress, but kind of getting there to that point is really being able to, excuse me, Gillespie and Rice being able to showcase the 3-point shooting, combining, I believe it was 6 for 9 from 3 in game 2. Selton, all the newcomers accounted for all 9 made threes there. So I think that's a sign of optimism. And I think this Marquette game this upcoming weekend, I think will kind of validate these early season feelings.
Yeah, I mean, we have Julian Reese, who has already proved it in a full season last year. He was an upper echelon level player. You have Derek Queen, who is showing that it's not all hype on this 5-star recruit. We do have to prove it against Big Ten competition. He's got one more time he has to do that. Marquette's a good stepping stone towards that type of competition. But if you can get a couple shooters, because shooting's much more streaky than these big guys. The big guys, even on their down days, are going to get some work in. The shooters are streaky, so if you have at least 2 guys you can count on, this team can do some big things. It's getting me a little bit more excited than I feel comfortable with. I'm almost going to say that same dumb thing me and Fred said all year, where this bench is 8, 9 players deep, and it never is. So we,
But this is that time of year where you see the bench expand, and you kind of see those roles kind of expand a little bit. Even Willard, he said at post game, he doesn't know what the rotation ultimately comes down to. And again, at this point, it's kind of all like Malachi Palmer. I think he's a guy, you can kind of see that need for that 3 spot. I think Deshaun Harris Smith has kind of been able to show that he's taken he's kind of taken some steps as that slashing guard, being a little bit more efficient around the rim. But kind of getting someone behind him. So a guy like Malachi Palmer, can he fill into that spot? Braden Pierce, we've seen him in limited capacity these first couple of games. How does he kind of fill in as that that backup center behind Julian Reese? And how can he really mesh well with either Derek Green or Julian Reese on the floor? How do those pairings work? So I think these early season games, I wouldn't like you're gonna see the rotation trim down. Once Jan 1st rolls around, it's just the nature of the game. But I think really for right now, a lot of these guys to be able to just really showcase, get their feet wet, and kind of see what pairings are comfortable. Test out these small ball lineups. Selton Miguel, play him at the 3 where he's played a little bit these first couple of games. So I think there's the rotation. We're still weeks away from that really getting finalized.
yeah. All right. Well, anything else on the hardwood out there?
Yes, Maryland did suffer a decommit from Marcus Jackson, 4-star forward, who ended up being the first commitment for Maryland this class. So it's a little bit of deflating news for Maryland. We'll have some more coverage on that, but he was at the Duke game a couple of weeks ago. Didn't really sound like much, but we'll kind of see how that shakes out. And so Maryland is now down to just Chris Jeffrey in the class, 4-star guard out over from Mount Zion. And we'll see how Marcus Jackson shakes out.
Yeah, not great news, especially when you put the word Duke there at the end of that conversation. So let's hope against that. But yeah, it's like that time of year. There's going to be people last second pushes, last second donations that make sure the NIL money gets right, and opportunities change for these players as people shuffle the deck. So you're going to lose a couple here and there, and hopefully you gain a couple every once in a while too.
Yeah, I will say it's not as common in basketball than it is football. Football, I mean, verbal. Some guys, they say, yeah, I'm 100% committed, but my recruitment's still open. But for basketball, it's not as common. So I'd say this is pretty notable for Willard, and frankly for in a cycle where you just watch Jordan Scott and Cam Ward go to Michigan State, you watch Sadian Lewis go to UConn, Eric Reed. He also went to a Blue Blood. So I mean, been a lot of talent. So I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how Maryland is able to recover, where they turn to. Obviously, Chance Mallory, they had been mentioned for him, 4-star guard out of Charlottesville, Virginia. He backed off of his Virginia commitment after Tony Elliott uh, abruptly resigned, really. But Maryland has been mentioned, but I'm not very optimistic there. The interest in Maryland was lukewarm at best before he committed, and kind of with the point guard in the fold right now, kind of feels like it's a uphill battle right now. But again, we'll see what shakes out.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult with the way the recruiting cycle lines up for basketball, kind of being early mid-season type issues. You're not really able to show off the whole, where we've came from. So they're basing off last year, which obviously was not an impressive season for the Terps. We really have a lot to prove this year with Kevin Willard, but hopefully they begin to do so against Marquette on Friday.
Yeah, like I said, big game, and the crowd has been little. There's room
Empty.
for improvement. Well, you said it. I'll say room for improvement.
There were a lot of chairs available.
A lot of empty seats. But Friday night, I'm not
maybe the
expecting
Terps just
that.
make it free. Just be like, anyone that wants to come, just come
Yeah.
on down. We won't even charge you for parking.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think again, Friday night should be a good atmosphere. So busy weekend in College Park.
Yeah, well, we have not touched on Rutgers predictions. You want to give us some score predictions?
Oh my God, yeah, we did.
Anything?
How did we? Yeah, well, I guess I can't go with a loss now. So I will say I did predict it as a win. Just kind of feels like Maryland. I know this has kind of been a long year, but I do think Maryland kind of at home being able to kind of get right. I do think Maryland will be able to get back on top. So I have it as 27-21 on Saturday.
Okay. Feeling a little bigger. I understand there is the world where the running back could hurt us, but that's really, to me, almost all we have to focus on. I don't see a world where they gash us by air like some of these guys do. So
yeah,
focus on the running game. There's even the chance, like you said, he's banged up. He doesn't even produce that much or play in that world. We could definitely win big. I just can't see Northwestern happening to us twice at home. If you control the run game, I don't think they have enough air power to keep up with us. So I'm going to go with a 17-31 Maryland victory. I see a big dog. Unfortunately, that may be the last win for the year. We might still miss a bowl game even with that.
The Iowa
but
game
I
will be
do
tough.
feel like this win happens.
Yeah, I think if you can get this one, build momentum, get that confidence going a little bit, it goes
Give us
a long
two
way,
chances at maybe squeaking it out.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be be interesting. 6 is within reach, and I think that's kind of where everyone has their eyes set right now.
Unfortunately, that is where everyone has their eyes set right now. We're most likely staring at 5, but we need 6 would be great. 6 would check all the boxes.
Fingers crossed.
Preseason.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, if
Well,
you can get that, so we'll see what shakes out this weekend.
Yeah, like we said, strange kickoff time, 6 p.m. Eastern. All these new TV contracts, I guess, have us all kinds of weird times. We already had a 3 o'clock kick, which was 30 minutes earlier than usual for the afternoon time spot. Now we're having a 6 o'clock kick, which is an hour earlier than the usual evening time spot. So I guess that's what it is all these different places they're putting the games nowadays. But for tailgating, I like it. Again, the 3:30s have always been my favorite. 6 is a little bit better than 7. I'm not going to be home at 1 a.m. with my kids. So I'll get down there. We'll probably be down there at Lot 4B around noon. Have a great tailgate and hopefully a great game. But that's going to be secondary at this point, I guess.
Well, we'll see how it shakes out. And Maryland just announced the Iowa game will be at noon. So
noon. All right. So our last good tailgate, everybody. Get down there for your last good tailgate. Yeah. Nobody wants to tailgate, especially in November at 6 in the morning. So come on down for the Rutgers game. Get the last tailgate of the season in. Have a great time. Jump over to Shot 30. We'll see you there. Until next time, here's to wishing all is well under the show.